Trader Howie Roseman is at it again. The Philadelphia Eagles made a big trade on Wednesday afternoon with the Chicago Bears. I'll tell you who it was they acquired. I'm sure you know already, but we'll dive into it coming up next right here on Locked On Eagles.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. I'm Louis DiBiase. Welcome into a Wednesday edition of the show. You can find our podcast Monday through Friday on all podcast platforms, on YouTube as well, and on Twitter at Locked On Birds, at DiBiase LOE, and at GC24_football. Before I start the show, I just got to add some more apparel to the wardrobe. This is better theatrics for our YouTube viewers, but just going to throw on this nice ring on my hand. This is from 2017. It's the last time the Eagles won a Super Bowl. It's the Super Bowl ring from when they beat the New England Patriots. And the reason I'm putting that on is because I'm feeling Super Bowl vibes right now with this team. The Philadelphia Eagles on Wednesday afternoon, they traded for Chicago Bears defensive end Robert Quinn. Howie Roseman is going all in on trying to win this city another Super Bowl, just like he did in 2017. The Eagles send a fourth-round pick over to the Bears for Quinn. The NFL trade deadline is next Tuesday. We know the Eagles are undefeated right now at 6-0. They are the number one seed in the NFC. They are the top team in the entire NFL. Howie Roseman said, yeah, I already added Haason Reddick this year. I already added A.J. Brown, Kazir White, Jordan Davis, James Bradbury, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. My team is loaded with talent on both sides of the ball. There is not a single hole on this roster. I got media members like Lou DiBiase of Locked On Eagles saying they're fine. They don't need to make another trade. They're totally good. This team can win a title the way they are. And Howie Roseman said, forget that. I am not going to settle. I'm going to continue to improve this roster and go all in on the window we have. I have a quarterback that's playing like an MVP right now on a rookie contract. I'm going to maximize this window and go for it, because that's what Howie Roseman does when he gets aggressive and when he can see that Lombardi trophy in the distance. And I absolutely love this move for the Eagles. It is very similar to what they did in 2017, what they did in 2018. They're not giving up a ton of value, but they're bringing in a veteran, proven, really good player that's going to fit a certain role. That's what Jay Ajayi did when the Eagles traded with the Miami Dolphins in 2017, giving Miami a fourth-round pick. We know how instrumental Ajayi was in that run. That's what he did in 2018, giving up a third-round pick for Golden Tate. That move didn't work out as well, but Golden Tate caught the game-winning touchdown in a playoff game that year in Chicago in the double doink game. So Roseman's doing it again here in 2022, a fourth-round pick for Robert Quinn. And although Robert Quinn has just one sack this year, this guy, you gave up a fourth-round pick for a player who, by the way, Chicago's taking on the rest of his salary. So salary cap-wise is not going to hurt your books at all. You're acquiring a player that, yeah, he's in his 30s right now, 32 years old, and he's only on a one-sack box score right now this year. This guy had 18 and a half sacks a calendar year ago. 18 and a half sacks, the most in Chicago Bears history. By the way, I feel like the quietest 18 and a half sacks that a player's ever had, because I had no idea that he had that many. So maybe I'm ignorant, or maybe that was just super quiet that he did that. But that's who the Eagles are getting for a fourth-round pick 7 weeks into the season before the trade deadline, to be your third or fourth rotational edge rusher, with Haason Reddick already having a great year, Josh Sweat already having a great year, Brandon Graham looking like he's not going to win comeback player of the year, but looking like a comeback player after coming off an Achilles tear last year that kept him out for the rest of the season. He's 34 years old. You've got Jordan Davis on the defensive line, Javon Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, and you're adding Robert Quinn to the mix for a fourth-round pick, a guy that a calendar year ago had 18 and a half sacks. I'm not going to freak out like this is Brian Burns. This isn't the move that's going to put you over the top. Again, I already felt like they made all those moves this offseason, and they're getting that from Jalen Hurts. That was the real step. They needed that from the quarterback. but man, is this going to help. And man, does it just make perfect sense for the value of what they got back and for what they needed. They love to be 4 deep when it comes to edge rushers. This is what they did with Chris Long. This is what they did with Michael Bennett, with Vinny Curry, with Derek Barnett. They like to be 8, 9 deep on their defensive line rotation. And I really like the move in that way. Again, for the value, for what Robert Quinn did last year, and for the role. I mean, he's not going to be taking on the double teams that he's been seeing in Chicago. Very similar to Chris Long and Michael Bennett. This is a proven veteran player that's had top tier production in the past. And yeah, maybe he's not ready to be, or not ready, but maybe he's no longer a top defensive end. Like he's not supposed to be your top guy getting to the quarterback, but in a reduced role with less attention on him, with a rotation with other studs, I think Robert Quinn's going to be a really good piece for the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's so exciting to see that yet again, Howie Roseman works the phones and finds a way to get incredible value. I'm really juiced up. It's just so exciting to see where this Eagles team is right now, to see at 6-0, the outlook of the NFC conference right now. Nobody really looks that good. To see the schedule they have coming up, playing the likes of Kenny Pickett and Davis Mills and Taylor Heineke and Sam Ellinger, to see the completeness of this roster. 2017 vibes, guys. It feels like 2017 all over again. And I didn't know when it was going to be that we would have this feeling again. I had so many doubts over the last few years about the direction of this football team. But man, has my belief been reinstilled in Roseman, in this front office, in the ownership, in the coaching staff, in the roster. It feels so good to feel this good about the Philadelphia Eagles again. I mean, you guys know we are diehard fans here, not only analysts at Locked On Eagles, but we are diehard Eagles fans. And we'll enjoy the 2021 underdog playoff run. We'll enjoy the division run of 2019 and another underdog run of 2018. But man, does it feel good to be talking about Super Bowls again. That is such a great feeling. It is so exciting. And a lot of that has to do with Roseman and the job he has done turning this thing around the last 2 seasons. Adding Robert Quinn today for a 4th round draft pick, the NFL trade deadline next Tuesday. He's been working the phones, and he gets a veteran edge rusher to complete what I don't even want to say complete, what was already a complete defense. He just adds I guess this is the cherry on top, right? Because Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in August, that felt like the last shoe to drop, but that was still a necessary piece of the puzzle that you didn't have. Now the sundae is complete. And again, Robert Quinn is that maraschino cherry right on top. Love the move. We'll continue to get into it. Coming up next, guys, this is the Locked On Eagles podcast, and today's show is sponsored by LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Head over to LinkedIn.com, then add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you like to hire and interview. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. Just post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. And guys, today's show is also sponsored by Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs just launched sweatpants. They are extremely comfortable. I love sweatpants. I love joggers. These things are life-changing for me, and especially being in the Northeast, I love comfortable clothes like this. When I'm doing my podcast, sometimes I have the collared shirt up top, but a lot of the time, what you can't see from the waist down, it's comfortable shorts, it's sweatpants, it's joggers, and they're all from Bird Dogs. They feel just like that cute little, Charmin bear rubbing up against your thighs. That comfy little bear family? Bird Dog pants are perfect as well for fall golf. You might not play like Tiger on a bender or, I don't know, DeChambeau, Koepka, the state of golf right now up in the air, but you get the point. But you're going to feel just as good as those golfers. Bird Dog joggers are higher quality than Lululemon and $20 cheaper. What are we talking about here? Go buy some Bird Dogs. Still wear shorts in the winter. Doesn't matter if it's Florida or 10 degrees in New England or Chicago, they have their signature shorts with built-in liners, the most comfortable shorts in existence. Go to birddogs.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDON. They're going to throw in a free Bird Dogs rope hat. I love rope hats. Get one at birddogs.com using the promo code LOCKEDON. And again, boom, a free Bird Dogs rope hat with your pair of Bird Dogs. The most comfortable shorts, pants, and sweatpants with built-in liners. You will not take these things off. I promise you. We thank you so much for making this Wednesday edition of Locked On Eagles your first listen, and make sure you're making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Also, for your second listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. We are talking about the Eagles' breaking news of the day that they have traded for Chicago Bears defensive end Robert Quinn, who led the NFL in sacks last year with 18 and a half. Again, very quietly so, but regardless of the matter, the Eagles are getting a proven defensive end to be a third or fourth man in the rotation, who's had, not only last year did he have over 18 sacks, but he had a season as well with the Rams where he had over 18 sacks. So this is a proven veteran player, very similar to what they did with Chris Long in 2017, Michael Bennett in 2018. It's a proven guy that might not be able to take on the main load of this position to get to the quarterback, but in a rotation is a perfect piece with no big money on the cap because Chicago's taking on the salary, and for the same price as what you got for Jay Ajayi in 2017, a fourth-round selection. I love the move, and I love what the move represents. Howie Roseman sees this window, and he is absolutely going for it. But he's not sacrificing the future this time to go for it. That's the difference between now and I feel like that last window of opportunity to win a championship. It felt like a lot of the time, you saw how many picks they had in 2018. They had barely anything. They were going for a title, that win now moment, in kind of sacrifice of the future. But right now, the Eagles have 6 draft picks next year, and they have 2 first-round picks, including one that is the New Orleans Saints selection that is currently in the top 5. So Howie Roseman is having his cake and eating it too. He is maximizing this win now window, but he is also maintaining the long-term objective. He's going to make sure this thing lasts longer than that 2017 to 2019 run went. And how he's doing that is, again, moves like this with Robert Quinn. He does such a good job, and he did this back then as well, where he adds talented players for cheap because of certain situations. He's very good at getting value, the best bang for your buck, because he's good at garnering gauging what's going on, across the NFL. Like you look at in that 2017 season when he traded for Jay Ajayi, Ronald Darby, and Timmy Jernigan. Jernigan was a good young player, but the Baltimore Ravens had another young defensive tackle they wanted to prioritize paying. So they were willing to give up Jernigan for cheap. And not a lot of teams back then were making trades as often as they are now. Ronald Darby was part of a Buffalo Bills team that had a brand new head coach who had a new defensive scheme. Ronald Darby was a young player still in his prime. But again, Sean McDermott and the Buffalo Bills, they wanted to collect some future draft picks. So Howie Roseman gets Ronald Darby for a 3rd-round pick. Jay Ajayi, only a 4th-round pick because Adam Gase couldn't stand the guy. Despite having multiple back-to-back 200-yard performances, the Eagles grabbed Jay Ajayi. Roseman's very good at, again, there's a lot of teams that make trades for good players, but Roseman does it where he doesn't have to give up a lot because he finds these, what is the word? Inefficiencies in the markets. And you even see what he's done this year with that. It makes a lot of sense. A.J. Brown, the Tennessee Titans did not want to pay A.J. Brown. So you get him for a first-round pick, but that's an elite top-tier receiver. James Bradbury gets cut for absolutely nothing with the New York Giants. So you get him on a cheap 1-year deal, and he's looking like a top 3 corner in the NFL this year. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, the same thing. The New Orleans Saints have a certain preference in what they want in a safety. So they are making a 24-year-old player that's coming off some great seasons available for trade for pretty much nothing. Robert Quinn, the same thing. Yeah, he's having kind of a down year right now, but Chicago's asking him to be the main guy in the defensive line, their new version of Khalil Mack. He's seeing double teams. And so Roseman sees that Chicago's just trying to get him off the books now and try to collect any sort of pick for him. and boom, you get them for a 4th round selection. These players don't fit their team anymore, what the roles were for them on those rosters, but they fit exactly what the Eagles need. And that is what he did so well with in 2017, and he's doing it again now. I really can't believe the turnaround this Eagles team has had the last 2 years. From 2020 to now, 2020 was one of the darkest years in franchise history. Seeing that Super Bowl run and just that contending stretch of 2017 to 2019 totally collapse, losing your head coach, your quarterback, nothing looked the same. Your roster was in total disarray, no young talent across the board, not a ton of draft picks. Your front office had a bad reputation for bombing draft picks, so you're trying to rebuild, and you're like, how much do we believe in Roseman to turn this thing around with young talent, right? To look at that moment after the 2020 season, after winning just 4 games, to where they are just 2 years later, if you would travel back in time and tell the 2020 version of you that this is where the Eagles would be 2 years later, less than 2 years later, I would think you're absolutely crazy. Maybe not, though, because Roseman kind of did this in 2016 and 2017. The fact that he's been able to have this kind of 2-year turnaround when the roster is in total disarray twice is incredible. And again, he has all these picks next year, 2 first-round picks, 6 total picks. He's got multiple second-round picks in 2024. The fact that this is the short-term reality now and the long-term, and if Jalen Hurts works out and he's the long-term quarterback, I mean, I truly can't believe it. I didn't think he was going to be able to do this again, but he's doing all of what he did and more. And it's so impressive to watch. And I really hope this thing does not flame out again and they keep this thing going, because it looks truly special. You know, we knew it on paper. We're seeing it on the field now. Short-term and long-term, the Eagles' future looks extremely bright. Guys, we'll continue to get into this trade of the Eagles sending a 4th-round pick to the Chicago Bears for Robert Quinn coming up next. And guys, today's episode of Locked On Eagles is brought to you by Prize Picks Daily Fantasy. Here's how it works. You pick 2 to 5 players, and if they're going to score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, going up to 10 times your money on any entry, no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport you watch. This includes the NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college football, women's college football, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, Euro basketball, cricket, and more. I could keep going on and on. You can bet on everything with Prize Picks. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy, safe and fast withdrawals as well. Currently operational in 30 states and Canada. Make sure you download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks is going to give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter the promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Go bet on the Eagles, go bet on the Phillies, go bet on the 76ers, Philadelphia Flyers, all that and more at PrizePicks Daily Fantasy Sports. All right, Eagles fans, I'm Louis DiBiase. We are wrapping up this Wednesday edition of the show. Howie Roseman making moves before next Tuesday's NFL trade deadline, sending a 4th-round pick over to the Chicago Bears for defensive end Robert Quinn. And now you look at this defense, right? I mentioned the last segment. This is kind of the cherry on top of the beautiful Sunday that this defense looks like now, right? Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was that last main piece you needed in August. And now Robert Quinn, a guy that had 18 sacks a year ago, is part of a deep 4-man rotation at the edge position with Haason Reddick, Josh Sweat, and Brandon Graham joining him. You look at that rotation, you look at inside Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, Javon Hargrave, and Milton Williams. You look at how good TJ Edwards and Kazir White have been this year at linebacker. Darius Slay and James Bradbury, according to Next Gen Stats, have been the 2 best corners in the entire NFL this year in man coverage. You look at Marcus Epps having a surprise great year. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson looks like a steal at safety. Avonte Maddox, I got to make sure I mention Maddox. He's been one of the best slot corners in the NFL this year when he's healthy. This defense is loaded. I talked about yesterday can Jalen Hurts, like you drop Jalen Hurts in a scenario like the playoffs last year where he's got to go toe-to-toe with Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes scoring on every drive. Can he do it? And while that scenario might be a legitimate question if the Eagles reach the Super Bowl, the ultimate goal, that's not something that, last year you'd have to worry about a star quarterback totally blowing your defense out of the water. That happened every single time they played a Tom Brady, a Justin Herbert, a Patrick Mahomes, even a Derek Carr. Every single proven quarterback to a certain degree dominated this defense. You might not have to worry about that, though, this year. This defense is going to be able to hold their own against anybody as long as Jonathan Gannon uses these players in the right way. Honestly, I think this might be the best defense of my lifetime with the Eagles. I've said that a lot of the show this year. This might be the best blank the Eagles have had in either a decade, in years, in my lifetime. And maybe I should say in my coherent lifetime as an Eagles fan, because of course the early 2000s, I was a young kid. Those defenses were incredible, right? I mean, Javon Curse up front, and, you have Jeremiah Trotter, Brian Dawkins, Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown, Bobby Taylor and Troy Vincent. So it's hard to top what they did in the early 2000s to kick off the 21st century. But in my coherent lifetime as a, knowledgeable Eagles fan, I would say that starts in, 2000, and let's just say the 2010s and up. This is the best defense I've ever seen the Eagles have put on a product where I'm actually coherently watching the games. This is better than the 2017 Super Bowl defense. This is better than the 2018 defense. This is better than even in the early 2010s with when you still had Asante Samuel and Trent Cole. It's better than any Chip Kelly defense that was out there by a landslide. This team overall on defense, the collection of talent on all three levels, adding Robert Quinn now to this equation, completely dominant. This entire roster, this is the most complete roster the Eagles have put together in a very, very long time. And I love that Howie Roseman did not settle. He didn't need to trade for Robert Quinn, but why stop? That's what he said. He was going to be smart about it. He wasn't going to trade, a first or second round pick for a rental this year. Heck, he wasn't even going to do what he did in 2018, trading for Golden Tate and give up a third round pick for a guy that he did not imagine would be here beyond 2022. But for the value of a fourth round draft pick and for not having to take on that big contract that Robert Quinn has, Chicago's going to take on that salary. Why not bring him in? Why settle for the rotation that you have when you can throw in a proven edge rusher like this for the price? I love it. I love the philosophy behind it. I love how it makes sense on the football field. I'm just so ready to watch this team keep it going this season. It starts with the Pittsburgh Steelers this Sunday at 1:00. We'll sit down with Chris Carter tomorrow of Locked On Steelers to dive into that matchup. But for now, guys, go check out some Robert Quinn highlights on YouTube. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you tomorrow for another edition of Locked On Eagles. Thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day on any podcast platform you get the show, on YouTube as well, and on Twitter at Locked On Birds, at DiBiase, LOE, and at GC24_football. Make sure your next listen is the Locked On Sports Today podcast. The biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. As always, thank you for downloading. Thank you for watching Locked On Eagles, and let's go Birds.